Well, we're back on the Vega. I'm actually in a transition on the Vega. That's our junkyard car that we're restoring. Remember that? So I paint everything inside the Vega. I paint the inside of the interior, and I paint the engine compartment. I paint under the hood. I paint inside the fenders. And then after I paint all that, and I want to go ahead and explain something really clear. I painted the engine compartment and I sent the guy pictures of it. And he said it looked awesome. I painted the inside of the hood and the fenders and sent him pictures of it, and he said it looked awesome. I paint the interior of the car, the whole interior of the car, and he comes back and says, that's the wrong color. The wrong fucking color.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
So we're now in the process of repainting the interior of the car and the whole engine compartment of the car. Oh, and the core support inside and out, and the inside of the fenders. And I will not be removing the fenders. The fenders will stay on the car. And then I got to repaint the hood of the car, because he decided that that was the wrong color after I painted everything, when I sent him 100 pictures of everything. I sent him pictures of it. He saw the pictures of the color of the vehicle that I was painting as I was painting it, and then after I get done painting all of it, he decides to tell me it's the wrong fucking color. And if you look right here, that's the color it's supposed to be. That's the color. This is the color we painted it, which he said was beautiful. And then after it's done, no, I wanted that solid color, that neon green color is what I wanted. That's the color I want. So that's the color he's going to get. I have to repaint all that. I'm not fucking happy about it. Even though this car is going to be a beautiful car, and I'm going to make sure that it's a beautiful car, I'm going to do what the owner wants me to do to the car. That doesn't mean I have to be fucking happy. Working on here today is we are going to repair some very old fiberglass pieces that go to a vintage classic automobile. The procedure that I show you can be applied to anything fiberglass, and I want everybody to take a good look at this. You can see this one here is broken in half. And then this one is a complete solid piece, but look at it really close there, and you can see where the gel coat has deteriorated, and it has basically eliminated itself as being an old structure that needs massive repair. Now this one here is in worse shape, and you can see that on these edges right here. And I mean, it's just in very piss poor condition. And what I'm going to do, before we go any further, these go on a 1976. All right, let me turn those around. These go on a 1976 Vega. And what that is a collector car in the Vega world, because it was a 1976 Nomad. If you look at these closely, you can see there's a difference in each one of them. If you look at the one that is not broke, you can see it's got a curve to it. And then when this one here is all together, you can see that it'll have a curve as well. So what we got to do, because if you just take this and put it together, you can really screw up on repairing your fiberglass parts properly. And what I'm talking about is this right here. If you look, once again, I'm going to explain, this one has a curve, this one's not broke, this one's in still decent condition, but this one is broke. And if you don't know what you're doing, or you don't have the proper feel for what's going on, you can really screw it up, because what we got to do when we repair this, we got to make sure that it's got that factory curve back in it, just like that. So we're going to go ahead and take this one away. We're going to set it over here, because this is the one that we want to concentrate on. This is the one that's in bad shape. And another thing about these pieces, they're very, very, very rare and pretty much obsolete in trying to find these. And if you're restoring a car like this, and we're talking about the 76 Vega Nomad, and you don't have these, you might be shit out of luck. So to start off, what I got here, I got an old wood chisel, and it's a dull chisel, and what I'm going to do is very carefully, I'm going to clean all of the edges of this off, because before we repair this, I want to make sure that this is completely clean of all contaminants, and that includes any glues, or if we look on the back of it here, you can see that there's glue on this. We're going to get that off, and we're going to be real careful, because we don't want to break our piece. We don't want to ruin it any more than what it's already done to it. So we're going to go ahead and remove this. This is butyl. Let's get that off of there. And then one more thing that this has on it, and I'm going to do the same thing to this piece, is it's got this felt lining. And what that's there for is this actually goes on the side window of the vehicle, and when the window is rolled down, you would see this felt channel here, or this felt lining. So we're going to go ahead and scrape as much as we can off, and then we'll come back and gently sand the rest off. But once again, we want to be very, very careful with this, and we don't want to destroy it any more than it is. And by using an old wood chisel is going to give us that opportunity to keep it all in one piece. I'm going to go ahead and take a piece of 80 grit sandpaper, and if you notice, I'm using a block. I don't want to disform this in any way whatsoever. All I'm trying to do is remove all the old contamination that's on it. Alright, now that we got our parts cleaned off, what I want to do is clean my workbench off. Get all that nasty dirt out of the way, because we got to make sure all this is really, really clean. Alright, so we went ahead and took our old piece, and it's basically ready to repair, almost. But we're going to set that to the side right now, because what I want to do, remember I told you that there was a curve in this. What I got to do is I got to mimic me a contraption, you might say, a bridge. We'll call it a bridge, that I'll be able to get the same contour when I glue this one back together. Because if I don't make something that will give me that contour, by the time it's all done, it'll probably collapse itself and fall down, and then we're going to be screwed, because when I fiberglass this back together, it's going to take a while for that fiberglass to actually, what can we say, work. So if you look right here, what I got, I got a piece of 18-inch steel, and it's almost exactly the same length. I'm sorry, 18-inch, 18 gauge. This is 18 gauge steel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make a bridge. So I'm going to bend it very lightly, and I want to get that contour, and you kind of see what we're talking about here. So it's a little bit high in the center, and it's a little bit too much on this end. So I'm going to go ahead and push it down. Now let's see what happens. And that looks almost about just right. Do you see what I'm talking about here? So now I can take this and use that as my model. So when I glue this back together, it'll have that same curve in it, and then everything will work. I'm going to cover this with duct tape, and if anybody out there can answer the question why I'm doing that, go ahead, but I'm going to tell you why. And I'm doing this for two reasons. If you notice, I'm taping it down, and that's going to give me a stiffer board to work with, a stiffer bridge. And I'm also covering it with tape because the fiberglass resin that I make to repair this will not stick to the tape. So now when I repair my broken piece of fiberglass that you see right here, now you can see it fits perfect. Versus if I would not have made this, you can see how it doesn't work. So once again, to speed everybody up, what we're doing is we are repairing a piece of fiberglass that's 43 years old, and we're at the stage of actually prepping it up so we can fiberglass that and get it all back as one piece. And I will tell you that this type of work is very, very delicate. One wrong move and you can basically shatter the whole thing. So we don't want that. So the first thing I'm going to do, because like I said, I'm kind of getting ahead of the game. I should have went ahead and put this on here after I prepped it up, but that's okay. It ain't no big deal. I'm going to take my cutoff wheel, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig out this area so I can kind of make a little cavity, and kind of think of yourself as a dentist, because now what we're basically doing dentistry work here on our vehicle. And think of this as a broken tooth that had a cavity, and we have to either fix the broken tooth or put a crown on it, and what we're going to do is we're going to fix it. So I'm going to go ahead and take my cutoff wheel, and I'm going to grind this out in here. And you can see how I made a pocket. Inside there. And then I'm going to go ahead and repeat my process on the upper piece of our broken tooth. Just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 2-inch grinder, and I want you to notice this is an old used pad. We're not using a brand new one. And I'm going to go ahead and bevel that edge. I'm going to go ahead and bevel that edge just like this. And as I'm doing this, I'm actually noticing that that's not solid fiberglass we're going to... That is actually, it looks like expandable foam maybe, and it's got gel coat on it. And then you can basically see what we're talking about. And if you notice, as I'm doing this, I'm not grinding the flat surface, the broken surface. I'm just grinding the edge. I want to keep all that contour. And the reason is because I want all this to fit just like it was when it came apart. Just like that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and take my duct tape one more time. Now I'm going to put a piece of duct tape on this end right here. And then when I flip it over, I'll go ahead and lay this piece down just like that. And then when I lift it up, it'll go ahead and mold itself. And we kind of screwed up. Here we go. Okay. It'll mold itself to where we want it to be. Basically. If I can get this tape to fucking work. Damn it! Son of a bitch! Cheap ass fucking tape. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tape. And first of all, I'm going to take my gloves off. There we go. And then I'm going to mimic my way to basically making a little, what can we say, river or a dam. I'm not going to push hard on it, and I still want to keep my contour the way it is. And on this particular edge right here, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go ahead and basically tape this together like that. And then what that's going to do is that's going to give us an edge on our fiberglass. What we're going to do our fiberglass work, it's going to put it in the position we want. And then when I pour my resin in there, when I pour my resin inside there, it will leak down underneath that tape. I didn't push on the middle of the tape, I just pushed on the edges. And let me get this old chisel here, because like I said, I want that to be open right here. I want it to be open. I don't want it real tight. So that'll lean back like that. And then what'll happen, it'll pour down in there and seep its way through, where we'll be able to fiberglass this piece back together. Alright, if you're looking at what I'm looking at here, what you're looking at is 2 cups. Now in each cup, what we have is fiberglass resin. You can see that. Okay, there's one, and then there's the other one. This is going to be a 2-step process, because what we got here, we got a situation that this is not solid fiberglass, so we're going to have to really, what can I say, take our time and figure out how to do this the proper way. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mix up our first cup of resin, which is right here. Let's go ahead and pour that in there just like that. Make sure you put enough hardener in it so it'll harden up. And then we'll take this paint stick, our tool, and we'll mix that resin up. Just like that. There we go. Alright, and the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to use raw resin. That's it, nothing else. And I'm going to take my other tool here, which is a paint stick, or a piece of one. And what we're going to do is we are going to hold back our tape right here. We're going to go ahead and hold that back. Now, you have to do this without moving it off of our bridge. Remember that bridge we made? So, and then we're going to take our resin that we just mixed up, and we're going to pour it inside here and let it leach down into the gap. Just like that. We're going to fill that up. And the reason I'm holding that tape back is because I want it to seep down in there. So now that we have filled our cavity with resin, we're going to go ahead and let that dry. And while that's drying, I want you to look at this other cup of resin that I got. I also want you to take a good gander at what this is. This is called fiberglass mat. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our fiberglass mat and we're going to cut little chunks out. Because what I'm going to do is I am going to make me a fiberglass paste. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that before, but what you do is you take your fiberglass mat. I didn't say cloth. You can't do this with cloth. It has to be mat. And then you take your mat and you can cut it. You can cut it, you can break it up, rip it apart, whatever you got to do. But what you want to do is take your mat and mix it in with your fiberglass resin. And then we're going to go ahead and take our hardener and we'll go ahead and mix our hardener in with it, making sure we use enough. I don't, keep track of how much I use. I just go by the weather. And you can see that, if you look right here, you can see that the resin is pouring out of our little valley, which is good because I know that's seeping down in there. But we're going to go ahead and mix this up. Now I want you to pay attention here. Look at this. Okay, you can see that it is now becoming not just a resin, but a paste. All right. And that seems like it's a little too pasty, so what I'll do is I'll take the resin that I got already mixed, I'll pour it in there with it. Because we don't want it like too thick, okay? We don't want it like wood putty, but we do want it where we can take it like this, and then we're going to put it down on there. And then once again, I'm going to get my little tool. Remember that tool that I had? And we're going to go ahead and push this in there now, see? And we're going to feed it down in there just like this, making sure that that fiberglass paste that I used gets down in there and gets down in there really, really good. And you can see by using our tool that we made, our stick, that it's going down in there and it's going to work out really good. And if we would not have made this bridge that I made, we probably wouldn't have done this and it wouldn't come out proper. So a lot of people would call that a buck. They would say, hey, I need to make a buck because I need to make this piece and it's got to be a perfect contour and I need to make that buck for that thing. So, but you can see kind of what's going on here. I'm still pushing it in. And what I was actually really going to do, I was going to use my throwaway brush to do this, but I don't want to disturb our bridge. I want to keep our bridge nice and clean. So I'm going to stuff this down in there, and I'm just going to take my time as I'm doing it, because this is the only way that this is going to be repaired properly. You can take epoxy glue and all that shit and glue it together, but I'm telling you that by the time you do that, you're going to spend a lot of money, and 9 out of 10 times, it doesn't work anyway. This is very cheap and inexpensive, and it is a pretty much foolproof way of fixing your broken fiberglass. So I don't want to build it up real heavy on top, because all that's going to make me do is have to grind it down. I want to stuff that paste in there, and it looks like it's getting filled up pretty good. I can't stuff too much more in there. It's starting to overstuff. So we're going to go ahead and take that and make our valley. We'll just make a rise on it right here. And then I'm going to push on it. I'm sorry, my hand keeps getting in the way. I'm trying to do this and show you how this is done. But I think we got so much paste in there now that it's actually the cavities that we made are filled up. And that was actually the plan of the game here. Or should I say the game of the plan. So we're going to go ahead and let this dry. And I want to go ahead and get that tape right there. I'm going to hold that back with my other stick, just like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and stuff that down in there too, just like that. Okay. So, but you can see by using this procedure that it really works out good. There. So, I'm going to let that sit right there on my dam, or should I say my bridge, I'm sorry. I'm going to let that sit there and I'll let that dry, and when we come back, we will continue to fix our 43-year-old piece of fiberglass. There you go.
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.